Hi there. My name is Betsy Herman, and I want to share a few things. I'm not normally one to share on video, but it seems like a good time to try it. So, a quick disclaimer, I live in Hawaii, and outside is great, and we live in a small little home, so I'm outside to talk to you today. And you might hear birds and tropical sounds and helicopters. There's lots of helicopters on Oahu, over Oahu. So, but that's not my point. So, I wanted to share with you a little bit about a couple of thoughts regarding marriage, family, having babies, infertility, and the Bible, and the book of Hebrews specifically. I am doing a study with some friends, and we jumped in hot to the book of Hebrews with a discussion or a question about Hebrews 11 talks about all these people who lived by faith and saw the promises of God fulfilled and lived by faith until they died. And it makes two different references to these people who lived by faith. They had the promise, they saw the promise, they lived by faith without the promise being fulfilled. And there are some commentaries that talk about that promise being Jesus, and I'm sure that that's a good interpretation. I want to talk a little bit today about hope and promise in the context of those of us that have not had an easy road to finding a spouse and getting married, or for those of us who have struggled to have children. And so let me jump right in. Hebrews says that some people live by faith until they die without the promise being fulfilled. And I'm hearing a lot of noises in the neighborhood. Hebrews also talks about this hope that is the anchor for our soul. And here in Hawaii, we can go to the beach in any direction because we're on a little island. And when I go to the beach, I just look out at the water, and it is huge and it is vast. And I don't want to live on a boat, but I have some friends that are living on a boat. And in the first storm they encountered, my friend said, "Oh, I'm not worried about the anchor because I'm not worried about this wind because this anchor is very, 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 very secure." And it reminded me of the scripture in Hebrews 6 that says that this hope is the anchor for our soul. And what does that mean? That's like a cute catchphrase that people put on Pinterest and they put on their wall art. This hope is the anchor for our soul. And hope is not the anchor for our soul. Because we can talk about hoping in something. For example, when I was single, I hoped I would get married. And then when we were struggling to have babies, it was, and in a sense we still are, it's easy to put your hope in, oh, I want to have a baby. The hope is in the baby. The hope is in the positive pregnancy test. The hope is holding that baby in my arms. And this past December, we had a baby 6 weeks before his due date. Labor was induced because his heart had stopped. Our baby had died. And this was a miracle baby, a gift from God. I was 40 years old and had wanted for so long to have this son. We had had the name Noah on our hearts for a decade. And this baby is what I wanted. At Christmas time, the next week after our baby was born, stillborn, into the arms of Jesus, that next week I just realized that my hope can't be in the baby because I don't have the baby. What I do have is Jesus. At the end of the day, the hope has to be in Jesus. Hebrews 6 talks about hope being the anchor of our soul, and Jesus is actually the hope, this hope that the scripture is talking about. He is the anchor. He is the thing that holds us when the storm hits. He is the source of all hope, but he is truly the hope. And those people in Hebrews, so many people believed that God had a specific calling and destiny for them. And even as I read through a children's Bible with my daughter, it's interesting how many people have a promise of a child when they are seemingly barren. People are promised leadership roles, such as David, who is a shepherd boy, is told he's going to be the king. There are so many promises in the Bible of specific callings and specific purposes and specific destinies, and I believe that God can and does still give us specific callings. But that calling and that desire that God gives us is not our hope. The hope truly is Jesus. He's the one. So when we're thinking about going after that promise, yes, we can go after the things God calls us to, but ultimately it is the relationship with Jesus, leaning on Him, knowing Him. And for me personally, when we came home from the hospital, that week, 2 weeks leading up to Christmas and my birthday, because my birthday comes right after Christmas, I would lie in our bed without our baby that we had hoped for and longed for, and remember that Jesus is truly the hope. He is the only one at the end of the day. We don't have our baby with us at the end of the day, but we have Jesus. And I'm learning in a fresh way to lean on Him, to grow in Him, to trust Him, that He is trustworthy. He is good. He's holding everything together. He's holding me together. Colossians 1:17 refers to Jesus who holds it all together. And yes, things don't make sense. I don't understand our loss. I don't understand the struggle. I don't understand why certain people have never been able to find someone to marry. I don't understand why certain people who desire to have children never had children. I don't understand it, but I trust that Jesus is holding it together, that He is the anchor that is so secure. He is the anchor that grounds us when we are out on the ocean in a storm. He is the anchor for our soul. He is the promise. He is the one we're going after. And when we die, if we die without a promise fulfilled, if we die without a husband, if we die without the children we long for, and we die with a faith that God is able and that He loves us and that He is the anchor and that He is the one holding us all together, and we enter into heaven, we enter into the arms of Jesus, and He just says, yes, well done, you had faith, and that is what pleases Him. So I just wanted to capture those thoughts on the hope that anchors our soul, the promise, and the truth that God is faithful and true. He's trustworthy. He's holding it all together. He's the anchor. He's worth it. Thanks.